Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. If this is your very first time to listen to this show, well, we love the Dave Matthews Band here at the Space Between Podcast, but what I love to talk about more than just the music, more than just the band, is the fans that have loved this band for... We've got fans that have loved this band from the beginning, and they started in 1991. We have fans that have just found this music and love them already and are digging into the 30 plus years of history that we have with this band. There are fans of every age in all over the world. And so every episode I bring one of those fans on to talk about how in the world they met the Dave Matthews Band. What has that music kind of done, and how's it been sprinkled out throughout their life? If you don't know, the Dave Matthews Band is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this October, and we are so excited just to get closer to that, to see what an honor it is for them. And did they need it? No, they didn't need it, but what an honor it is to be inducted into this hall of so many amazing musicians. And just the class that's being inducted this year is... It's just an impressive class. So we're excited that the Dave Matthews Band is going to be part of that this year. And so more to come about that because, hey, I'm going to say this for the very first time on this show. The Space Between Podcast will be at the induction ceremony as the Dave Matthews Band gets inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, of course, that means the podcast will be going live as we can. Lots of exciting things happening here. I just found out yesterday that we officially got the in to be at the induction. And so I'm just so super excited. And so more to come on that, but of course, every episode I bring a fan on, and today is like every episode. I have a fan that loves the Dave Matthews Band and has agreed to take a couple of like an hour or so to chit chat with a stranger, because ultimately that's what I am. I mean, in this world we like meet each other on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, but we've never met, and I can't believe that because I know that we've probably been at some shows before. But tell us who you are, where in the world do you live, and let's just chit chat about how we've never met before, because I don't know how this hasn't happened.
We probably have quite a few mutual friends, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Like the podcast and everything like that. But I am Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I'm just kidding.
He wishes. He loves him.
Mikey Scott. If I say Michael Scott, a lot of people won't believe me either, because
I love that
reference. Which
yes.
Not complaining, but I should watch a little bit more. I've
you
not.
Should. It's like literally my top favorite show. I know every episode, and I love it.
I have to get into it. I even have like a little Dunder Mifflin pet bandana that Carter used to wear.
No way. Oh, it's such a great show.
I definitely embrace the Dunder Mifflin references.
You got to, with a name like Michael Scott, you have to. I mean, it's just who you are, and I'm sorry.
And I'd been compared even before I knew who he was. My dad had the same name too. Like my mom got, a gift from someone as a joke, like I love Michael Scott underwear at Christmas.
Oh, that's so funny. I mean, yeah, you could just get anything with your name on it.
Mugs,
oh shit, that's right.
Yeah.
Please tell me you've watched that episode at least, because it's a hard one.
I made my kindergartners watch it. The whole, at least the song part, right? And teach them the songs. Hey,
yes. I love that. So where in the world do you live, dude? Where are you?
I'm in parts unknown.
In outer space?
or I'll say Quahog, Rhode Island.
Oh, same thing. No.
Quahog's not a real town, but I'm in like the town around where it would be based on. So East Greenwich, Rhode Island, right now. That's where my sister
Gotcha.
lives. I grew up and lived most of my life in Newport, Middletown, Rhode Island, which is
Awesome.
an island in itself, and that a lot of people
Dang.
like it. So yeah,
I've
we
never
have
been to
bridges.
Rhode Island. I would love to. I do know about Rhode Island only because you are, it's easy to remember, right? It's like the smallest state. And so that's
Yeah,
what I know about it pretty much. I know where it's located, but I've never been, and I hear it is absolutely beautiful.
it is. That I can't lie about. I don't know if there's like I've been a lot of places, seen a lot of
Yeah.
things. I compare it to like California, but
Oh,
the
really?
ocean's a little,
Oh, yeah.
like no mountains though. So
Oh, yeah.
hey,
There's that. Well, one day, I have a good friend, Jen Ryder. I know she's going to listen to this episode, so shout out to Jen Ryder. She lives in somewhere in Rhode Island. I can't think of where, but it's not that big
I
of a state. You're probably neighbors.
I just met her actually.
Did you really?
Yes, and
No
ironically,
way.
here's the thing that happened is just right around the same time that I had talked to you about coming and recording a podcast. Her cousin who lives in Virginia Beach,
Uh-huh.
I had met her randomly because her license plate said Boston but Virginia, and I'm like,
Right.
it's spelled BAWS, like with
Uh,
that. So
with
I
the
was like,
accent. Yeah.
I'm from Boston, and that's how her and I became friends. And it turns out Jen is her cousin.
No
So
way.
like she texted me and she said my cousin is going to be on the space. I'm like, that's the same podcast that I just agree. That's crazy. So and then
That
we didn't
is
know
insane.
we happened to be at the same bar in Saratoga. She'll have to tell you the story because I think I confused her.
That's
I was like,
amazing.
I can see you right now, and then she didn't know it was me. Yeah,
Oh my
but
God,
then
that's crazy. Such
yeah,
a small world, but I mean, that's what I told you I loved about this podcast is just like I've had an opportunity to get to meet personally meet like virtually or whatever, but then hopefully personally after that a lot of people, and people know people because the Dave Matthews Band fan community is not as large as what we think it is. It's not. And so, or at least, I mean, I don't know. There's no way you could have a hard number on that and be like, okay, there's exactly 36,400. I mean, like you can't have a number on that because it's global. But hey, if they're wanting an accurate count, I'm willing right now, the Dave Matthews Band, hire me on. I'll go around and ask people and I'll take a count for you. I will tell you how many fans there are. But I'm on my way to collecting that number, right? Because as the podcast grows and more people come on to share their story, then hey, I'm just working on a head count for them, right?
that's it.
So it's a whole different head count, but that's the head count I'm doing. It's
I
funny.
would
It's
teach
funny.
technology, so I Google like teaching kids how to use that kind of stuff. Google Forms to make a survey and do that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Uh, we got some really cool stuff toward the end. That was cool, but I need a break. I need a break from it all. It's very demanding. I'm sure you know.
I cannot imagine yeah, it is. Everybody needs a break too from time to time. It's just you
Yeah,
gotta pour into yourself because we can't pour into others if we are empty.
right,
That's just so true. And I can't tell people enough, like, remember to feed yourself, remember to pour into yourself, even though we are taught, I think a lot of us are taught that when we do things for ourselves, that it's selfish. And honestly, I hate when people tell people that because sometimes, yeah, there are some things that we can do that are selfish, but I think investing in yourself and especially in music and concerts, investing in yourself makes you uh, usually a happier person, a person that can then pour into others because we've been filled. And so since we're on the subject of being filled and music, tell me when it was that you heard how did you meet this band? Like where did it come from in your life?
So I guess like I always try to blame my ex-girlfriend. She's still a friend of mine.
Blamer.
Um, I try to blame her. I try to blame my college sweet mate because he would always blast the music from his but I worked at a music store when I was in high school. I gave up like a year of playing baseball in high school pretty much
Yeah.
to work at a music store and like, you know, like
No, I
enjoy
love
that.
it. Hell no. I worked
But
in one too, and it was some of the best times of my life. I loved working
yeah,
in the music store.
right. They had quite a few, perks and memories that I'll never forget. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and then it like even like launched into I worked for a sporting goods chain for like 11 years after that.
Oh, that's cool.
That opened up like right next door to the music store, and
So
we
did
had fun.
you what did you find when you worked at the music store? Because I mean, you had the time and it was right in front of you to find music that you probably wouldn't have found otherwise. What all did you find when you were working there?
So it was like before these Crowded Streets was released. I think then
Oh,
like
yeah.
I only worked there for like 7 or 8 months. It wasn't like long,
Yeah.
but and that was released. So then like I'd say like I listened to that album. I'm like looking back on it, I'm like wow, that is like really really like one of my probably my favorite albums, I guess. But and then Crash was always familiar to me, and my
Yeah.
girlfriend wanted to go. We went and like it was not even Gillette Stadium. Sorry, Foxborough Stadium, the old one.
Yeah.
In 2000 was my first concert, and I can barely remember it. Like I hate to say, I
Oh,
barely remember.
no. Oh, no, I
Not
know.
or just
Right.
it's just
It was a long
overwhelming.
time ago. 24 years.
And, yeah. Then like years later, we're out camp with my family in Cape Cod, and I'm like, well, Dave Matthews Band's coming around. You want to go? Like, I just want to go to a concert at the venue. I'm 21 now,
Yeah.
and so we get tickets, and then it was like that night, and I just got trashed like
Yeah.
real bad.
Yeah.
I was in a trash bag actually because it was
Oh,
raining,
no.
and
What? Is that what you
yeah,
mean
so
when you say you got trashed? Is that you were in a trashed bag?
well, not even like double trash,
Oh,
like
double trash.
basically
You were trash and trash.
black trash bag. I remember waking up in a bush with like just being proud of myself that I didn't spill my drinks
Oh
because
my
I was like,
God. That's funny.
and I had really good. I think we had good seats too, if I'm not mistaken. And then, but that was the night that I felt it was like them playing Gray Street that night. That was like
Mhm.
I was like, I got to see this again, like in
Yes.
an appropriate way,
Yeah.
Um,
Not in a trash
not
bag.
trash that Dave Matthews by any means, but it's been a while now.
That's so
Did some
funny.
day drinking. That was fun, but this year. But this was I used to love that was the other thing I fell in love with like traveling, right? And then I
Yeah.
started traveling for a little while too, but um
What prompted you to start traveling to see this band? Like, were you just like, well, it's not that far, or did you just jump off and go someplace far? Like, what was your first traveling time to see them?
I want to say so. It's like I remember this isn't going to go over with people that are Dave and Tim fans, but like I drove like almost 3 hours to go see them at UMass Amherst from where I live, and I was like, I'm never driving that far to go see a concert that is only going to be 3 hours or whatever, and then have to drive 3 hours. But never doing that again was my thought. Since
Wow.
then, I've driven to Utah and back to go see them. So
It shifted a little bit. You were like, this is stupid. And then you were like, but also I'm going to do it again. And then it gets as far as this is the best thing I've ever done ever. It's that progression.
can I make this my job?
How
But
can I get paid to follow this band? Please tell us.
yeah, anybody?
Please call me. Right, right. You can teach the band's kids. Look, I could be your nurse. What do you need? We can do it.
I'll do it. It's funny too. There's like all kinds of connections I've like met along the way too, like direct connections, like people that know inside
Oh
and out
yeah.
of the band.
Oh really?
I've still never met anybody,
Oh,
but
I mean, yeah, I haven't officially met anyone. I mean, I ran into Dave, and I mean that like in the most literal sense. But I mean, and those moments are special. Don't get me wrong. I'm so thankful for that opportunity. But it's not like I got to know him, right? Like, I don't
yeah,
know him. I would love the opportunity, but yeah, I'm probably not going to have that happen. These dudes are rock stars. Like they're world famous. They travel the world. I'm just a girl in Arkansas. You're just a teacher in Rhode Island. I mean, They ain't coming to find us. They're not looking for us.
I named my dog after the drummer.
Look at all we've done. I know.
Like
But that's
that's how
okay.
they are. Like I'm, you know, what I mean, I'm not the only one. You know,
No,
it's like,
you are not. You are not. And again, I'm working on that head count. So we're gonna know. We're gonna know. But so you drove to Utah. Wait, okay. I'm trying to think of
that would be like,
where
so
in the world in Utah. I've not seen them in Utah. So tell me how that goes, because Utah's a beautiful state.
that was so it was like my first midlife crisis in 2010, I think, and I was that's when like I was torn between what to do career wise.
Sure.
Uh, my mom had passed away. My dad had a new girlfriend that moved in all of a sudden, and when
Oh
that happened,
gosh.
I was on a road trip that was like a spontaneous road trip to North Carolina that turned into a trip to Disney and then
Wow.
back home, all on a weekend.
Wow. What?
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
Wow.
And then I came home and my dad got his new girlfriend. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, my head hurts. I just wanted to see some Dave Matthews Band. It was like December,
Oh my
and
God.
so then that next year, I just decided along the same time. So I at that point I'd seen them probably like in Mansfield, and we were very very spoiled up here because we would get two shows in Mansfield back then, and then two shows like the next weekend in Hartford.
Oh yeah.
And I can tell a story even like so like one of my buddies when I was working for Olympia Sports. Big shout out to my buddy Big John. If he he'll probably end up. I'll have to tell him to listen to this, but
Hey, hey,
um,
hey, hey, Big John. Thanks for listening.
he's one of my first like favorite Dave friends from back home, and just one of the greatest human beings on earth.
Yeah.
And but anyway, we've been each other's boss. At that time, I was his boss at Olympia Sports, and he was also working part time at the golf course across the street, which is
Uh-huh.
also like right next to the venue where they play in Mansfield.
Oh, awesome.
He got the caddy for Roy. Um,
What? That's
and
cool.
Roy's tip was 4 VIP passes to Hartford, and I just get to go like,
No way. Thank God it was a Dave Matthews fan. Right? Can you imagine handing that over to someone that's like, this is shit?
I know, right? Like at the same time, it worked out perfect.
Yeah, big time. He must have known. I don't know. Maybe it came up like, dude, I like your
I don't
music. Did
remember.
your friend say that he said anything to him?
Yeah, I can't remember. This was like 08, 09.
Oh,
So
yeah.
him
Yeah.
and I, so many things. Like we went to Game 7 of the Red Sox Indians World ALCS that year.
You've been,
We were
yeah, big
we
things.
spent like epic Red Sox teams together. So it was just a good. I hope he does hear this because all those stories he remembers. Um, we've had such epic times together. But where was I? Oh, just that was one
We're just
quick thing.
talking
So
about traveling. Yeah.
that was like an extra Hartford show that year for me, So like, and I started accumulating. I'm like that wasn't really traveling to me, except for maybe the
Right.
first time.
Yeah.
It's like an hour and a half either way. If you go towards Hartford, if you go towards Mansfield, it's a little bit shorter. I would
Why
actually
did
think
you
that's
even think that you should? Like, what was it about the music or what was it about it that made you wanna keep traveling to see them? Because I think
um,
that's a question that someone may look at this whole situation that doesn't like them or doesn't know about them and be like, okay, I understand that you love their music, but why travel?
and I think you've mentioned this before, even or alluded to it. Like it's a great way to go see these like random cities. When I
It
was in Noblesville,
is.
Indiana this year, I'm like, I never thought I would make it to Noblesville, Indiana.
Right?
Like
Me either. In a cornfield.
I cannot wait to go back. Like I
Yes.
really
Sign me
cannot.
up. We love it. It was so weird
That,
and crazy.
that's what inspired me to get my costume to like where like I gotta like bring that vibe out here because that was
Yeah.
just so much fun. Like people were like I felt like it was like Mardi Gras, Halloween,
Yeah.
Dave
Yes. Yes. It's so fun. It's where all I think it's so funny to watch all these adults come out and also I think it's so awesome to watch all these adults who got shit back at home, right? Like we all got shit back at home, whatever your shit is, and then just to be able to take 2-3 hours a day, a weekend off and just let your freak flag fly, like whatever you want to do, just do it and nobody cares. Like everybody's okay with it. I think it's such a great
Yeah.
time.
It's like, yeah, right, exactly. I don't know, it's just the people,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it is. It is.
it, right.
Yeah.
It absolutely, like, I could make a top 10 list of people I met for the first time in Indiana this year that like that they should all
Wow.
be one, but like I'm you know what I mean, like just that kind of like cool vibe that that happens everywhere you go, but
Yeah.
on a different level out there, completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, I've always said that about Deer Creek because I mean, I live in Arkansas, so you're further away from Indiana than I am, I think. Maybe, I don't know, because I drove there. It was only like 9 hours. If you were to drive there, it would probably be longer than 9 hours, right?
About
Probably. I don't
double.
know.
Right.
Oh, about double
Drive
that.
both.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, but I mean, I would have ne- I would have never had a reason to go there, right? Like nothing else in my life I don't think would have brought me to Noblesville, Indiana. Yeah, I could have gone to Indianapolis. Like that's a whole different ballgame, but you're not going to Indianapolis. You may fly in there, but then you're going to this tiny little town of Noblesville where there is I remember driving out there for the first time and it was just like down this two-lane highway or road and it's cornfields on both sides. And then all of a sudden, you see this sign that says Ruoff music, whatever. And you're like, oh, I think we're here. And then out in the cornfields, way back in the back, there's a place. It's so good. I mean, I say like it's this little barn. It's not like it's a full like professional like thing, but it's just the most random spot. But that's what makes it so cool. Is it's not in the middle of a big city. It's not something that you would see every day, and there is no reason for you to go there except for this. And I love it because it brings money to those small towns, bringing people in, like that Sleepy Bear campgrounds. Like they're making money off these concerts, and I love that for them. And so I love that they remember to go to small towns as well. Yes, the band is going to New York and all these big places, but they also remember Rogers, Arkansas, and Little Alabama cities, and like they remember us too. Do they come to
Yeah.
Rhode Island? I mean, do they come to Rhode Island? No.
It's funny that you asked that. So I got to go back and look. I love that I'm actually majored in geography
Uh-huh.
originally. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of a geography geek. So I want to look at my map on Ants Marching to see like how many states I've seen them in now. I think it's
Uh-huh.
20. But like those
Dang.
kind of things, people always there's arguments. People get heated about numbers, and I'm like,
Oh, like show
no.
numbers?
Yeah, like the argument,
Oh,
like how many show numbers you've
it
been
doesn't
to,
matter how many shows you've been
right?
to.
Like
I'll
the
stand
Rock.
right here and say that again. It doesn't matter how many shows you've been to. That doesn't. What I mean is that doesn't dictate the level of fanhood you have.
No, I
That
met
would be
some.
saying that just because you can afford to go to a show means you're better than the person that could never afford to go. What?
Right, and that's the thing. It's like I mean, I've been on both ends of that, like where I've been able to go for a month straight
Right.
to a show, and I've
Right.
been able to go to a show for a year.
Right.
So
I mean, it's like a whole, especially when you start talking about traveling, but even just going to a show in your own city, they're still expensive. Even your lawn seats, especially now with, I mean, it's still extra money, right? Like it's still extra money. But then when you start traveling, it gets costly. So it's not a game that everyone can play. And yeah, it's not fair to say that just because you can, you're a better fan. I don't think anybody's saying that, but if they are,
no, I don't think
I
anybody
hope
ever meant that either. But
I hope not. Yeah, I don't believe anybody believes that, but if you
right,
do,
some
then
people are taking it that way, and some
think
cases,
about it different. Yeah, think about it different. But so let's move on. Let's talk about where else you've been. Like, take us around your Dave Matthews Band history. What else kind of stuck out in your history? Because you've been following them for a little bit.
yeah, it's been over 2 decades, I guess now. So that 2000, then there's like 2003ish, I think was maybe the next time I went, and then it turned into like, wait, like people go like when they play 2 nights in a row, you would go to both, and so then I like branched off to doing both in Hartford now too,
Yeah.
And then
So if somebody's listening that doesn't know why you would go to both, why would you go to both?
because it's different every time. I would go if they played 5 nights in a row somewhere. I'd love to be there 5 nights in a row if that was
Oh
even
God, I know.
like. I mean,
Right?
they could still do that and not repeat a song easy.
Oh, they sure could. And I would be there standing for 5 days.
Whether it's like 5 nights later, you have the same song again.
What an ultimate that would be. Like, I don't want to put the boys through that because that's like a lot to do 5 days straight and not repeat a song. But dude, that would be like a dream. A dream.
Wishful, maybe. Who knows? Rock and roll all gamers,
You
right?
know, goodbye tour or like a farewell tour, like just saying your whole catalog over all over the United States, like start in the A's and go all the way to the whatevers. I don't even know what would that be. Oh, here's some trivia, like because I don't know this and I don't have this written down, and this is very impromptu. In alphabetical order, teacher, what would be the last song of the Dave Matthews Band? I don't know the answer because I just made this question up.
You and me, I'm throwing it off the top of my head.
There, we've got our Y. Yeah. So we've got yeah, because that would fall after ye he, because that's
Yeah.
ye. So then you've got yo for you and me. Would there be anything else that starts with Y that would be after yo?
There's a George Carlin joke that goes something like this, I think. It's like you're working up to Y, and that brings me to Z, and that brings me to, oh, no, it's the one about sports. If anyone's, it's terrible, but that brings me to dart. That's how it goes. George
Well,
Carlin did some terrible things in that, but it's really fun.
no, yes, no, he's an icon, and I think comedy in general, like there's a lot of room for offending anyone, but I feel like these days anything you say has the possibility to offend someone, but well, tis life, right? Tis life. So
Right.
what do you think has been your favorite venue so far? And like, or maybe that question, and then also, where do you think your most memorable show was?
This brings me back to going back to like where I'm gonna get off.
Please do. Yeah, go.
Leave.
Go.
So, but going back to like that, I started traveling. I did Saratoga one year with a girlfriend. Like it was just like a nice little romantic trip, and then I'm like, wait a second, like I want to go wherever like I possibly can. I started doing like the research. Google Earth
Mhm.
was the thing. I started like looking at Google, like looking at different venues and like seeing what they look like from the Google Earth. Saying, this is
Yeah.
cool. This place is cool. I've always heard you had to go to the Gorge, so I made sure that year that I was going to go to the Gorge. I started traveling that 2010. I just decided I'm going to go. Like there was the Utah thing, right?
Yeah.
They
Oh
had
yeah.
free tickets that year through the warehouse that I just put in like randomly and then got them. So I was like, you know
Dang.
what? I'm going to go free ticket in Utah. Like I can.
This is like a $50 ticket, and you're like, I'm going to spend $2,000 to get this $50 ticket.
And then I went to Hollywood that year. I went to Hollywood Bowl.
Oh man, what year?
This was 2010.
Okay, awesome.
So then I did like went up to the Gorge. I did Irvine that year. I had some friends that were living out there. It was kind of cool. Like I would sometimes go out with strangers. I got catfished in Denver. That's another story. But
Oh dear, yeah, maybe even a different podcast. What? I like it though. I'm intrigued.
uh, and then so I did like a ton of shows that year. And then that's when I started like now I really want to like go check out venues. Like I saw them at Wrigley Field that year. I saw them
Oh shit, yeah,
at Gorge. And I only did one night at the Gorge. That's a whole another story.
yeah.
But it
What'd
actually
you think
brings me
about
back.
it?
I think we had. I listened to one of your opinions on it, and I think we had
Yeah.
very opinions on
Oh
it. I'm
really? Tell me.
more of a Deer Creek kind of guy,
Yeah.
but and if anywhere too, I love seeing like on a beach. But the Deer Creek vibe, like if you could bring that Deer Creek vibe to the ocean somewhere, that'd be like my magic.
My magic show is for the whole band to do a show in Mexico, like where Dave and Tim does it. But I want the whole band. That's my dream show. Like, oof,
Thought that
do
was
three
just like
days full band on the beach. Sign me up.
this is exactly what I say, right? And this is what like, it goes back to the Dave and Tim thing, like and going to see them in Amherst. Like I would still go see. I would still drive 3 hours to go see that. Like it was just Dave and
Oh
Tim.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Now
don't know if I'd drive to California to go see Dave and Tim. That's all.
drive to California. No, I don't know, man. That's so far. That's so far.
Well, I thought that was going to happen. I thought that when they announced this Oceans Calling second wave in Mexico, I don't know if you're familiar
Uh-huh.
with that
Oh yeah,
already.
no, I heard about it.
I thought for sure it was going to be Dave Matthews Band on the beach in Mexico, and I'm like, that's it. I'm doing it. Sign me up for that right away. But then I was kind of disappointed by like the lineup they put out. I guess.
Oh
So
man.
OAR is one of my favorites too.
I think they're great. I've never got to see them live. I love their sound. I'm familiar with, I won't say a lot, but some, probably more of the popular songs. And I think they just have such a jam sound as well. Like I would imagine that hearing them live, which is what I've heard live recordings, that every show would be kind of different as well. And like how they play it and their energy seems like it's nice. So I hope one day I can see them.
Yeah, I hope you. I would highly recommend it. If and then there's the Oceans Calling Festival this year, of course. That I can't wait for. Like that's one
When,
thing that I will make sure.
where is it this year?
Oceans
2024.
Ocean
Oh,
City,
okay.
Maryland. That's what
Okay.
it's
Okay.
Dave's headlining this year.
No way. When is it?
It's the last weekend of September, I think.
Oh yeah. I have that thing called a job.
Yeah.
It's really holding me back. But also it pays for me to get to go to places like that. So, but I want to go. It sounds amazing. I love, and is the full band?
That's full band. So
Oh,
that's three. Night two is Killers. Night one is Blink 182.
ooh. Who?
Blink 182.
Oh shit. Oh my God. I want to be there for all
The
that.
lineup. There's like Boys to Men. The
Oh
lineup's
man.
Counting Crows. Like if you like '90s music,
Yeah.
like
I'm
your music are probably right.
yeah, I'm older than you, dude, so yes.
That's the like right there's the like just picture what you would think like what you would see in like a '90s music store for like a lineup of a concert, and that's what's playing.
Except everyone is way older. That's the only difference, you know. I actually, and I don't want it to, I don't ever, I'm never gonna say anything negative about, well, hopefully anything on the show. But one of those bands that you just talked about, I just had a friend who saw one of those bands that you just talked about, not the Dave Matthews Band. And they said that they just were very disappointing. And that made me so sad because once upon a time, they were everything. And so, you know, that happens. But that also brings me to a point of, I can say strongly and confidently that the Dave Matthews Band is not that band who sounds worse in their going into their 34th year. They sound, in my opinion, better than they ever have. That's
I
my
feel like
opinion.
it sounds better every show that like
Yeah.
each show I see it sounds better than the
Yeah.
next.
It's like the momentum they have. It's like we're like a train just on crack right now, just going at it.
100%. Like it's just
And I'm like, how do we keep up with this? But they are doing it and they keep topping it. Like I really said to myself, and I think I have this in my notes somewhere in my phone. I don't think they can top the year 2023. That is what I said. Until we get to 2024 and I'm like, what happened in 2023? Like now I can't stop talking about 2024. It's like every year they have this marketing strategy of, okay, here's what we're going to do this year. And then they do it and you're just like, what the hell just happened? How did they get better and how do they keep reeling me in? So like why are you still a fan of this band?
well, it goes back to what you were saying too. Is like the whole atmosphere around just the concert. I used to be like, it's funny because I used to like say tailgating was my favorite part. Like
Yeah.
the whole tailgate. I don't know. I don't think I made it to like one tailgate on time this year. Or like,
It's hard to
like
get your shit together sometimes.
yeah, it really is. I don't know. I was on the road from here to there. I had my dog. Like I'm not making excuses, but and then I get to Alpine night 2 on time for a tornado. But
Oh, God bless America. I know. Oh, that sucks for all those people. Dang, that sucked.
I feel terrible for anybody that didn't get to go back. You know, like it was silly for me to go back. Really, I don't know
Of
a lot of.
course. Yeah, I had a friend that flew in, Ben. Shout out Ben. I know you're going to listen to this. He flew in from Florida and had to go back the next day. So, and it's the only he only flew in for night 2 and he had never been before. And so like all his hopes and dreams were just like on the floor, and I feel so bad. So in 2 years he hopefully will get a resurrection, and you will too, sir. I hope in 2 years everything's back to normal.
There's a cool moment there that it brings me to also, like I'm going like on a timeline from like 2010 to 2024 and back. But there was a dude that I got there the first night and ended up tailgating with people that were just right next to me,
Yeah.
and uh, I played the worst game of cornhole in my life, and I have to apologize. So going back to what we talked about before, what was kind of cool is this kid was his name's Steve Bartman. So if he ever does listen to this by any chance, I remember his name Steve Bartman, which is another name, kind of like me having the Michael Scott name. But Steve Bartman, if you're not familiar, was the same guy that like interfered with play in the Cubs playoff game that cost them like the
Oh,
chance to
no, I
win.
don't know, but I'm sure a lot of people do.
It was a bad name. Like you don't want to have that
Oh
name.
no. Oh no, poor guy.
He was my cornhole partner. Meanwhile, his cousin was a WWE wrestler. So like
Crazy.
I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. You know what I mean? Based on like,
Yeah.
right? I'm hanging out with Austin. My tag team partner for cornhole is Austin Aries' cousin. And his name is
That's
Steve.
insane.
So they weren't planning on going night 2, but then they were going to Summerfest in Milwaukee, which everybody I went out there, like they highly encourage. I love Wisconsin too, by the way. That's like another
It's a great
Wisconsin.
state. Damn, their cheese is really like what they say it is. It's really good. And their beer. Their beer is spot on. And I'm not a beer drinker.
Get the beer. It
Hmm
was
Was it Spotted Cow? Is that what it's called? Spotted Cow?
I get it. I'm so
What is
mad.
up? It's magic in your it's just magic. It's so good.
I'm gonna have to try that. I still didn't get a chance to. I was
It's
so mad
good.
about
Yeah.
that. I've had some. I have a nickname of Mustard Mikey up in like a town way up north in Wisconsin.
Why is that? Do you like mustard?
Apparently, when I have too many other shots, I start doing shots of mustard.
That would be like kind of a lot if I think about it. Like a mouthful of mustard is couldn't be that good. I like mustard, but it's
Dude,
mustard's stout.
I do like mustard, so that's why like I'm able to just like I can do it. I'll chug it.
Whoa!
I wouldn't say
Wow.
chug it. Yeah.
It's got. I don't know if it's like got acid, like it's a little bit acidic or something, but it's stout.
Sometimes that like golden spicy brown mustard. That's
Oh yeah, yeah.
must have,
I love it.
she must be stoned right now because her phone's outside and she's playing it.
I mean, what a better time to be. It's after work. What I thought is funny, and I thought that this would be interesting to read because I always wonder what the world thinks about the Dave Matthews Band fans specifically, because there are other bands that have not a reputation, but like people know about like the fans of Fish and Grateful Dead, especially the Grateful Dead, just because they had such a longevity. I mean, but so is the Dave Matthews Band. But I always wondered, and so I randomly Googled today, what are the fans of the Dave, or like something like that? Like tell me about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band, whatever. I don't know. I will tell you that my podcast showed up, and I was like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I wasn't expecting that. It is dope. I was excited about that. But I did find a website that I'd never heard of before. And I'm sure everyone that's listening to this will. And I'm just really behind the times and I'm okay with that. But it was fandom.com. So I guess it just talks about different things that people can be fans of: music, sports, whatever. And so there's specifically a page about the Dave Matthews Band. And it talked about different kinds of fans that the Dave Matthews Band has, but one of them stuck out to me, and I thought it would be interesting to share it with you and hear your thoughts on this. Okay. So this can be found on dmb.fandom.com. It's under the Dave Matthews Band Wiki and entitled Disgruntled Fans. Are you ready? I love this so much. Okay. And there is some, I mean, there is some truth, I think, to this, but I just think it's interesting that they wrote so much about it. Okay. Beginning after the release of the album Every Day, a large number of fans have expressed grief at the musical direction taken by the band. These types of fans were mostly interested in the traditional organic sound of the music and disliked the pop sounding mood of the Everyday album. The stand up album also qualified among many fans as too pop sounding. So, with the release of Every Day and furthermore, the stand up album, certainly galvanized these types of fans. It should be noted that these disgruntled fans have always existed throughout the history of this band, even going back to the early years when many online fans constantly expressed their disillusionment with the music as the band grew with popularity and then shifted more towards the mainstream. The main issue with disgruntled fans is that they continue to attend concerts despite their disillusionment due to the fact that the live aspect of the band's music has remained largely in its traditional form. This has often created a mood of tension between fans who enjoy concerts in their entirety and other fans who will openly express their discontent with concerts that do not contain specific songs that they wish to hear, or concerts that contain an excessive amount of songs from the Everyday or stand up albums. What do you think about that? Boy, that was a mouthful, but I see so much truth in it in some very small ways. Uh, what I mean, that was a mouthful, but like, did anything stick out? I mean, I have heard that, of course, the direction of the Everyday album was different because it was produced, directed, like, I think it was produced by someone completely different in it, and they did kind of shift that music into a poppy type thing, and that is what people didn't like about it because they were scared at that moment when Everyday came out that the band had taken a permanent shift more into a mainstream sound versus their live, eclectic, ever-changing music that was before that. And so I see some truth in this for sure. And I definitely hear those fans that come to shows that are upset at the set list. What are your thoughts on all of that? And it's okay to be like, if you agree with any of this, if you disagree, like, it's all opinions. I mean, that's someone that wrote this. It was their opinion. There's no fact to it. But what are your thoughts on all of that?
I was gonna say it almost sounded like AI took like everybody's thoughts and
Yes.
thing, which I'm like, not everybody thinks all of it.
Right.
A good point. There was a lot there that was accurate, but I'm
Yeah.
like, what just to me, what solves the whole equation is just seeing them live. You know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah.
even know when I hear a song. Sometimes I'll look at that like pie graph that they put up of like what songs. Well, like I don't know outside of a few. Like they all like blend together to me now. The
Yeah.
albums themselves. So I don't
Yeah.
like. There's songs that I like, songs that I want to hear. There's songs from every album that I like. I don't know. Like,
I will
so
definitely say that. I mean, I'm very pro Everyday. I'm very pro it. I mean, there's not an album I don't like. So I guess I'm the wrong person, but it did sound different, but it was
but I
produced
do
different.
the live version, right? The live versions of a
Oh,
lot of those
completely
songs
different. Yeah.
made end of that song, but in the long run, maybe I didn't like the album. Now I look at like Stand Up, like I used to think was probably my least favorite. I think at
Yeah.
one point, and now I look back at it like, wow. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm gonna listen to it. I'd ever listen to it, not live. You know what I
I
mean? Like
mean,
when I
that's the
listen to it,
album that Gray Street
right?
is on. When people say they don't like that, I'm like, oh, yes, you do. You just don't understand or you don't realize what's on that album.
Yeah, there's so many. Like even like the last three, like I forget that they put out three since it was Come Tomorrow, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a second, that there were three. right? What was before that?
Before Come
What was
Tomorrow.
on Away
Oh,
from the World,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
Walk Around. I always mix those
yes.
two up.
Oh,
I love
I
Walk Around
gotcha.
the Moon.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What do you like the new album? What are your thoughts like when it came out? And it came out, of course, 2023, which was, I believe it came out the same day as their first stop of the US tour, which was honestly kind of genius. But also, I was kind of like, well, shit, I didn't get to study before I came to the show, which, because that's just the nerd in me. Like, I want to know the music and be like, yeah, I'm going to sing it. But also, it was kind of smart for them because they were like, shut up and listen,
It's the best way to
shut
do it.
up and listen, right? Because it is a great way, and it worked out beautiful. When I went into it, I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna, but that was the best way for them to do it because they had so much to say in that album. I mean, I think about songs like Monsters and what it, talking about mental health and really digging into some subjects that needed to be talked about, that still need to be talked about, and the way they did it, whether that was on purpose or not, I see in hindsight that they couldn't have done it any better than they did, releasing it the day the tour started, the day they were going to start singing those songs live, because they wanted you to listen to them. And I love that part of that. I don't have any confirmation that that's what they were doing, but I mean, does that sound crazy to you?
No, not at all.
Do I sound crazy?
I went to, it was like, so Fenway Park. I went to all the shows that they ever played at Fenway Park. That was like that was what prompted me to join the Warehouse. And
Oh
going back,
yeah.
I got off on a tangent before somehow we were talking about,
That's what happens when you talk about Dave.
we were talking about going to Saratoga. It was one stop. Then I wrapped around. I met people like, I first met people through an app called the DMB app on the iPhone, and
Oh
not
yeah.
many people probably know it, but
Yeah, I don't know about it.
that very small. You did know about it? It was a
No, I
chat.
mean,
Yeah, it was like a chat right there, and like that's how I started meeting people, like going to concerts back in like 2010, and I
that's
met some really
awesome.
people. Like the
That's
people I
awesome.
met, unreal. I'm still in touch with quite a few of them, and
Yeah.
even the first person I ever, here's a funny Rhode Island story. The first person I ever chatted with on that app lived 15 minutes down the road from me in Rhode Island, and there might have
Isn't
been
that
like
crazy?
two people that use that app that I know of, that I can
That's
remember.
crazy. That's crazy.
So that's where I got it too. So it was,
Yeah.
I remember like
Yeah.
little free name. I mean, like people would come up. But I met some really cool people that way. One of them, my buddy Nick, happened to be a Red Sox fan, and he flew back out. This is totally unrelated to what we were talking about.
That's okay.
Flew back out here, but it's again what brings everybody together, right? He was a
Yes.
Red Sox, and he lived in Oregon, and that's when I went to go to the Gorge too. But not aware of like cell phone service up at the Gorge and all these places that like I drove from Los Angeles to the Gorge, 18 hours, and
Jeez.
I'm like, no, I don't
Jeez.
know anybody up there. And I'm like, oh, this is a terrible idea. But I got to see one show, and I wanted to go back. That was the whole opinion I
Mm-hmm.
always had.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes back. It's like the same thing. Some people do, some people don't. Right?
Yeah.
They might like the Gorge. I might like Noblesville. My
That's
favorite. That was a question that I never answered. Right? It was my
Oh
number
yeah. What's
one.
your favorite? What's your most memorable show?
Well, my number one favorite venue I would say was Bethel Woods. I
Where
still
is
like,
that? Where is that?
but Alpine Valley's kind of, Bethel Woods is in New York, and
New York. Okay.
It's where Woodstock,
Oh, oh, wow. Yeah. I've heard of it that way. Yes.
the original Woodstock. So
Oh,
you like when
yeah.
you're there, you can see the hill, like you're just looking at like that's exactly what people are like sliding around getting muddy.
Oh,
Like you're
wow.
just there, it's like wow, this is the real deal. It's real cool.
Yeah.
Like in the museum, they can go see.
No way.
Great. Like everything, the people there were like the most wonderful. But Alpine Valley makes it kind of, and then going back to that, looping back to that is because of that whole tornado situation there. Those people
Yeah.
that might not have seen after night one,
Yeah.
I did see now on when they were able to go to the third show. So it went, for some people it worked out pretty cool. Some people it didn't work out
True.
so good.
True. True. Yeah.
I
That
figured
sucks.
Noblesville, I'm gonna go up another 4 hours north. Why not? Right.
Right. Right. And so was this your first year at Deer Creek, or have you been many years?
It was my
This is
first
your
at
first year.
both.
Yeah.
First year for Deer Creek and Alpine, and they were both always like at the top of my list. That was like what prompted my. And then I'm like, I might as well do the Ohio, and I love that was another like very surprising. Cuyahoga was very surprising. Pine Knob absolutely like blew my mind.
Really? What
I,
was it? I've never been there.
oh, it was like they had a place called the Treehouse. That's the what like one thing I'll just. It was like a
So
treehouse.
where's Pine Knob? For anybody that might not know, because I don't know. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly where it's at.
And I say these things. I never would have called it Pine Knob before, but now that I've been there, like I see
Right.
the games, like like all over the
Right.
place. Um, that was Clarkston, Michigan, so Detroit,
Michigan. Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
and then Cuyahoga Falls was Ohio.
Yeah,
That's
near
where
Cleveland.
Richter and those guys like
Oh,
for the first time.
yes.
I went to the tailgate party there at that place. Did some day drinking and
Dude,
then
Rich puts on a good party.
that
And
was
it's funny because this dude, I literally texted him today and I said, "You've been brought up on every single episode of this podcast."
yes, yeah. I mean, huge shout out. Like, I mean, the
I
stuff that
mean,
you know,
Rich,
stuff
you
you
are
guys.
dominating. It's because you're so awesome. You're so awesome. That's so funny. He's great.
I'm like, hey, I would have loved. I'm like, anytime you want some help, I'll organize a cornhole tournament or whatever. Like, I'd
Yeah,
love stuff like that.
he's
I don't
awesome. That's
know,
so funny.
but I'm all on board. I'm like, I decided. I'm like, I got to go for Denver, and I didn't
Of
have
this
tickets
year?
for that. Yeah,
Dude, so
I
that's
didn't have
that's the
tickets.
next show. That's the next show. I mean, that's what everybody's talking about right now.
I got to do it.
Oh, it's
That's
going to be
I
great.
got it. Brings back to like the venue. I actually want to like do like a YouTube channel about like venues. I was talking to a
Uh-huh.
guy in a joint on the lawn in Noblesville like after the show with this old guy
Uh-huh.
that had that around, and I'm like telling him my idea. He's like, I like that idea, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's
oh,
necessary.
venues and because like you hadn't heard of Bethel Woods and that's or you had but not necessarily by name, right? And
Right,
that's
right,
one
right.
venue. They're like it's a sleeper. They don't play there every year by any means. It's very rare. I've seen.
Is it a smaller place? Like why do you think they don't play there every year?
I don't know off the top of
Is
my
it
head.
only Alpine years? Do they kind of do it the same years as Alpine?
Maybe they do it like alternate when they're not doing
Okay,
Alpine.
because
But
Alpine is just every other year for those of you that are listening that are like, what are you guys talking about? And I often forget we like start talking Dave and then we talk so fast that if someone is listening to this, they're like, I don't even know what they're talking about.
Alpine was yeah, like right. And I was out of the loop for a few years. I'm like I didn't even know that that's how it worked
Yeah,
every other year.
every other year. I guess, I don't think it's always been that way because I want to say I've heard stories that Alpine, dude, somebody did a like a 3 night stay somewhere and I don't know if it was Alpine. I don't know where it was, but like things have changed. But of course they've changed because
It used to be
this
2 nights in Alpine,
they've
right?
been touring forever. I mean, there are buildings that were not there when they started. There are buildings that they're still playing in. Like, and one of those, you hear SPAC. You've talked about SPAC. People love SPAC, and the band loves SPAC. But I hear that the band loves a lot of venues. But I think that it must be fun for them too to just get to travel around to all these places, even places they've been to before. You see them, or at least you see pictures of them really soaking up local culture, going to those little bakeries in these cities. And so, they're making the best of it as well. I know that when they came to Northwest Arkansas, where I live, I mean, I live in a very small town, and because everyone in this town knows that I love the Dave Matthews Band, like I knew where they were, and so I mean, it was just like common. I wasn't stalking them by any means, but like and I they just were down in like the little parts of town just doing what touristy type people do. And so it's got to be cool for them too, just to be all over the nation just like it is for us, and put in those little towns every other year where you can't do the same thing every year. God, can you imagine how mean or how mad people would be if it was the same places every year and you never swayed? Like California
Yeah,
didn't get a show at all this year. They're
right.
kind
At
of
all.
upset about it. They're
When was
upset
the last
about
time
it.
they played? When was the last time they played in Arizona?
I don't even know. I don't know.
or
I don't
even
know.
Utah. Like I mentioned Utah before. Like
Yeah,
they're
I would
rare.
love for them to play Utah or like Idaho. Like, take me someplace I've never been. I'm ready. We could eat some baked potatoes in Idaho and see the Dave Matthews
Yeah,
Band. Because that, I mean,
I part of my plan. I do actually. I wanted to go see them in Bend, Oregon too. So the same friend I was telling you about before, I traveled with. He came out to visit me in Rhode Island. Red Sox fan. We did an epic that year. The Caravan
yeah.
uh, in Atlantic City. So they did three nights in Atlantic City. We saw like OAR at midnight.
Oh my
I
gosh.
ran into my cousin randomly down there, which this is like 6 hours away from where we live, and I never even had known her to like Dave Matthews Band, and I
Yeah,
don't think she even really does. She was just there for the whole like party,
for
and
sure.
then and she was with the guy that would become my vice principal at school. That's a whole nother story. Like that ended up being,
Wow.
yeah.
Never
Like
know.
it,
Connections are
randomly,
made.
randomly, his dad and his uncle happens to be the mayor of the city. Like you have no idea. Like yeah, right. Like one connection leads to
You just
another.
never know who you're meeting. And I mean, you just never know who you're
Great
meeting.
and great people. Like that's the one thing. Like I've not met anybody in the whole Dave Baptist community that's not great
It's
people.
true. What do
And
you think that is? I mean, that's a stumper for so many people is like, why is that? I
I
mean,
there's
tell me your
definitely
philosophies on that.
I don't know if you appreciate that kind of music and you're actually listening to like what he said. Like and I'm one too that like I as I've gotten older, more mature, I've listened to more lyrics and more
Right.
like it means more to you too. Like after things
Yes.
of more of life, right?
Right. We've been through more.
Yeah, and especially like him, like you see like him, people complain about albums, things like that. I'm like, well, he's gonna
Yeah.
evolve as an adult too and mature and things, you know.
Yeah. I agree. Because when we're 20 and we're standing there and we're talking about for tomorrow we may die, like that's not the same as when you're standing there at 50. It
No,
hits different because you're like, oh, yes, like this is all true. Like take heed. Like we gotta do some stuff. We gotta live our life. We gotta be happy. We gotta like focus because uh tomorrow we may die, right? That's I mean he's saying all the things. We just gotta listen. But it is different when you get older. It is different.
yeah, they hit like, and there's. Do you have a song? I have a question for you. Do you have a song that like always is it the space
That
between, or is it?
no, I mean I love the space between. I think it's a beautiful song. I think it talks about and the space between, well, that's just I could talk 30 minutes on the space between, but is there a song that be more specific, like that lifts
There's
me up, that gets me going, that like what?
always hits you like one way or another, like brings out some sort of like extreme emotion, whether it be good, bad, ugly. I always look at them as good.
I'm not going to talk about the songs that bring out the ugly, or the hurt. I mean, I don't want to talk about that. It's a thing though. It's happening. Like it does it for people. But the song that there's so many good ones. That's a hard question. Yeah, Gray Street's always a good one, just because I've been that girl. I've been that girl in that story. I have been that girl in that story, and so it's personal to me, and it's freeing, and it's a reminder of what I did and how I was able to do it, and I love that song. But that I mean that's not necessarily my go-to, but when I hear it, it's just at the right time every time. But right now, I mean, typical situation is always going to be my song. It's always going to be my jam. It's what made me fall in love with this band, and so every time I hear it, it brings me back to that sweet time that I can remember driving my Ford Explorer in Texarkana, Texas, and I remember the moment that I actually heard it and it all clicked, and so that can't, that's just a special memory.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I mine's Light Our Graves.
Oh
It's a
yes.
that's and I happen to be like show number one this year, walking into like long story short, walking into the pit during the middle like of Light Our Graves unexpectedly. So like
Hmm.
I thought I had 2 arm tickets and I ended up in the pit that
That's
night.
the
That
best day, isn't it?
not the only time that's happened to me either, and I like I could go list shout outs down the road like of people that have been so
Generous
kind.
people. Yeah, generous
People in
people.
the first time like I think I was ever in the pit was in Utah after getting catfished in Denver, and then going to these
Wow.
people I didn't know, and and then
You know
this, that,
what?
and the other.
You needed
And
it. It came at the right time.
it was like they were like, "You drove from Rhode Island." I'm like, "Long story short, yep." Um, they're like, "You're coming with us to the pit." I'm like, "All right, cool."
Dude,
You know,
yes, you don't say no.
why not, right?
Yeah, I've only
Um,
said I've actually said no to that very situation before, but here's why. My husband was with me. They only had one. I was like, I'm
yeah,
sorry, I love you and I want to go, but like I gotta stay back with my man, you know?
fair enough.
It's the only time. It's the only time.
I get to bring my dad and Mohegan's son. So that's another like the other thing. So then there's amphitheaters. I'm an amphitheater kind of guy too. Like I don't. But then you go see them indoors, like in some of these arenas, and like and Mohegan's Sun is another one that's just
Yeah.
like really. I get after seeing all these venues this year. I hate to disrespect my home venue of Mansfield, but it's not even my top 10 anymore.
Oh yeah.
Um, it fell off, and
Yeah.
well, in places like Pineapple, like I was saying, like they had the tree house. It's like where you can just go buy weed and smoke weed in the tree.
In
In
an actual tree house?
yeah, we're,
What?
Michigan's on another level. Was just
I've
that's
never been to Michigan.
Michigan, Indiana. I was just like blown away, like everything out there, even Ohio and Wisconsin, some more course. But like I've been there before to those places before, respectively. So I kind of
Well,
knew what to
shout
expect.
out to those states. I gotta come see what you're all about.
My only other experience in Michigan was at a Tigers game, and I just then like even like I traveling around with my dog to the other cool thing is like not only just going to these towns, but then now I road trip from one town to the next, and
Hmm.
I stay like different places, but passing through somewhere like Indiana Dunes National Park that I never even knew existed, and
Yeah.
it's just like amazing, absolutely beautiful place that
We have a great
yeah,
country. Every time I travel, I'm like reminded of when people think about traveling, they think about, oh, I gotta go, I gotta leave the country. Well, you don't have to. I mean, the United States has pretty much whatever you want. I mean, we got Hawaii, we got Alaska, we got California, we got Rhode Island, we got Arkansas. I mean, it's all over the place. Like our country is all over the place and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So get to know your own country. It's a great country. Hey, you know what? We can't stop this podcast without doing some trivia because I know that you're excited about it.
I'm always ready for trivia.
I love trivia. I think it's fun. I think it's fun and I think it's a great way to learn more about the band. And so that's what we're about to do. So here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to read these trivia questions, but just keep in mind, obviously, people are listening to this and or watching this. If you are just listening to this and you want to watch the episodes of the Space Between Podcasts, it's just as simple as going to YouTube, typing in the Space Between Podcast, and boom, you can watch almost all of the episodes. I didn't record in the very beginning when we started back in 2022. But then we started throwing them on YouTube. And honestly, if you want a good laugh, go back to my very first YouTube video. It's awful. I laugh at it. I'm like, look at you. You didn't even know what you were doing. But I still don't know what I'm doing. It's gotten
I,
better.
hey, I had to
It's
like
gotten better.
stuff, right? Like this is what I thought like media technology, whatever. It
Uh-huh.
changes every year. That's the other like hard part. Like I loved it.
True.
Like when I'm as a STEM/technology teacher, everything I'm teaching is changing all the time, right? Like before you
Yeah,
know
it's
it,
a
like
lot.
I was teaching kids how to type in eighth grade, and then 8 years later, I'm teaching them how to use 3D printers, right? So it's like
Yeah.
that's where the difference lies. Like I love
It's yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, if you want a good laugh, go back and listen to my first season.
but I'm 100%. Like I've talked about doing it myself a million times, and I'm so impressed with the way this year podcast has turned out, and I'm very
Oh, thank you. It's been a lot. I won't lie. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work. But that's okay because it's I love it. And if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. So I don't do anything that I don't want to do. So except for pay bills. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it, but I
to do what?
have to. Do
What is
what?
it to do? What don't you want to do though?
I don't want to pay bills, but
Oh, that's right,
I
right.
haven't figured out a way to not. I think we talked about that before we started recording. We were like, why can't I just travel around and have fun and not go to work?
Can you get paid for this somehow?
No, no. I mean, no, I can't. I mean, if
I
I know podcasts make money, but like this one is to a very small amount of people. It's just people that love the Dave Matthews Band, and there's not a million Dave Matthews Band fans. And until there is, Mama can't make no money doing this podcast. So we're just having fun. We're just having a good time, and I'm okay with that. Okay. Good times. Okay, so I'm going to read the trivia questions. Just remember that people are listening to this. So if you know the answer right away, don't answer quickly. Give their listeners some time to think about it and play along with this. So I'm going to read it, pause, and then if you know the answer, we'll do it. I don't have any fun Jeopardy music, but I can like do it a little bit just myself if that makes it better. I don't know.
Wait, here we go.
Oh, what are we about to do?
Do we need to introduce a DMB Trivia Championship?
Hell yeah, we do. Yeah, that's amazing. I need to pass around a trophy, and for each person that's on the show that wins, we just mail them a trophy or a belt buckle or something. I don't know, a belt buckle. The Dave Matthews Band belt buckle. It'll be great for when they play Louisiana Bayou or Cornbread. You can just like get down.
A little bit right on it. You can snap it there.
I mean, yeah. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna go with difficult, just because that's the one I read, and I was like, man, I love this song. So here we go. I'm going to give you some song lyrics, and you're going to tell me what song it comes from. I'm not going to sing it because, number one, I can't sing very well. And number two, that makes it easier if I do it that way. If I give you a tune, then you can figure it out. Okay, so here we go. Why one man's belly overflows, another sleeps in hunger's bed. We'd trade our world for a piece of bread. That sounds very poetic. I'm going to read it again. And again, I started difficult. Why one man's belly overflows, another sleeps in hunger's bed. We'd trade our world for a piece of bread.
I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah.
This wasn't my first. I'm going to say Funny the Way It Is. Oh, I wasn't supposed to.
No, that's okay. I think we gave enough pause for those. I mean, this one is very hard, and if read to me without the answer in front of me, I would not know it. I will be very upfront and honest about that. That does come from a song that I don't know. I don't have my almanac pulled up. I don't know when the last time it was played, but it's not played enough. And so it is Mother Father.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, we don't hear that song enough for it to be super familiar, but man, I hear that in my head as we're talking about it. Dude, the guitar. I think that Santana maybe even came in, and when they did the album version of that song, yeah. If you haven't listened to it in a while, the guitar in that from Santana will blow your mind and make you want to hear that song. It'll make you want Santana to come on stage and hear that song, but I hope I'm not completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's what happens in that song. So there's some homework for you. There's some homework for you.
Not played live.
I don't know. I don't know if they've ever played it. I don't know. I would have to look that up.
Pretty sure. Yeah, I think there's one song on Every Day that they've never played live. I think that's the one. I always mix it up. Dreams of Our Fathers.
Well, thank God. Oh, Dreams of Our Fathers. I love that. I think that's such a deep song. Such a deep song. Like the meaning behind that song is just like, whew, how in the world did he write that stuff? Okay, let's go to question 2 and maybe not be so down in the ditches. Like, oh, that was difficult. Okay, let's see. So many crazy questions. Let's do a fun one just for shits and giggles. Which member of the Dave Matthews Band appeared in a Twix commercial, like Twix the candy bar? And I wouldn't know this one either. I didn't even know this existed. And honestly, I have to get on YouTube immediately after this and watch it. Yeah, I'm gonna go let's see here. I'm going to do it right now just to make sure that, and then you're going to hear me say the answer. Okay.
It's gonna be a guess when I shout something out. I'm just gonna be.
Boyd Tinsley Twix commercial.
Oh boy.
Let's see if this is real. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'll have to do some deep diving, but someone said that Boyd Tinsley was on a Twix commercial. I honestly wouldn't doubt it if that's true or not.
No, I
I
wouldn't
don't.
doubt that.
But also, like in the beginning of your fame, or hell, in the middle and the end, wherever you are, it's all about picking up extra cash. People got families, like people
Yeah.
got Maseratis they got to pay for. I don't know. I don't know.
I have to admit, for the longest time, I thought I couldn't tell if it was the John Cena Honda commercials. I think it's Honda.
Oh
The car
yes,
commercials, his
yes,
voice. I'm like,
yes.
I'm like, what's he doing these commercials? But like,
Why
I guess
not? I guess. Why not? I mean, easy money, I suppose. Like you could make
right.
a couple
I'm sure
grand
they're
real quick. I'm sure they're
yeah.
paid very well because just they have a name and yeah, people will buy just because they're like, oh, looky there, Jim Gaffigan is endorsing this minivan. I laughed. I bring that up specifically because there was an interview with Jim Gaffigan, who is a comedian, and he said he did that commercial because he got paid because him and his family don't even have a car. They live in New York. I was like, well, thank you for being honest. I love that answer. It just
Yeah.
goes to prove they'll endorse whatever.
Why
Okay. Can you remember what the name of the very first album that the Dave Matthews Band released? Do you remember what it was called?
Is that Remember Two Things?
It is Remember Two Things.
Okay,
It
I was
is
thinking
Remember Two
it's
Things.
like the first like two albums. There's a lot of crossover, what people call right. The two
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
the other one,
Like, but that is officially their first album.
first album is
Yeah,
Remember Two
yeah,
Things.
yeah. Speaking of way back when, do you remember what guest artist sang on the track Spoon on Before These Crowded Streets? Do you remember who the guest star was that came in and sang Spoon with them?
I do. This one
Who
I'm pretty.
was it?
This one I'm pretty confident on. Alanis Morissette.
Boom. You got it. She's still killing it. She is still killing it. It is 2024. She was touring last year. I don't know if she's touring this year, but like she's just still so talented. Still so talented. I would love to see her come back out and do something with the band again because their voices complement each other so well, I think. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. So let's do one more before we end this episode. So much pressure on like which one I want to give you. I feel like I've given you some really hard questions, and I don't mean to pick on you, so don't think that. Let's see. I just have to get through all the questions. I can't keep asking all the same questions because if you listen to this podcast, you'll be like, "Hey, Renae, quit reading the same questions." Exactly. So and it's because I'm avoiding the ones that are really hard, and so you're just getting it because that's what I'm down to. Okay, here we go. JTR is an acronym for what?
Are you? Ooh, not a clue. I don't even know. I don't even want to try to like. I look at like letters like that and try to come up with. I don't know this one.
So I will admit that I have been publicly bullied for getting this wrong on this podcast before.
Oh boy.
So we're not going to touch this one with a 10-foot pole. I think it is John the Revelator or something like that. I think that's right. If I'm wrong, hey man, I gotta. That's cool. Just let me know. That's what trivia is about. Teach me.
My
Teach me.
friend John that I was telling you about earlier, it happens to be his initials. That was like always one of his favorite songs for that reason. So
Oh yeah,
that's
as it should
one
be.
thing I do not know. I never even thought about that. Also, one of those unpopular things, like not my favorite song.
For real? Like when it starts raining, do you want him to play JTR?
I never. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
mean, I think it's cool just like the part where he's like, I'm not going to sing again, but like where he's saying rain, rain, and it's raining. Like there's
yeah,
just
and
something
it
kind of
rains.
magical about that. Yeah. It's pretty
And
magical.
then there's like the cover they do. So OAR always did "A Fool in the Rain," right? I think it's Led
Oh,
Zeppelin that
it is Led
OAR always
Zeppelin.
did that.
Yes.
And then Dave started doing it. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? Like
He does
they're
such a great
playing.
job of that in general. And shout
Yeah,
out to Candy. Candy Norman has been on the show, and we talk about. I text her every single time I hear "Full in the Rain" because in her podcast she talked about how Led Zeppelin was like her band, and when Dave started covering it, it felt like so familiar and beautiful, and it's like a whole thing for her. And so, shout out Candy Norman. I think
and
about you every time I hear that.
I was at Mohegan Sun with my dad and one of my best friends, like sitting in our lucky like section 13, able to bring him in in a wheelchair and at the time, and he'd been to like 3 shows with me before he passed away, and this was one of them, and we happened to be like with a view directly over the stage. One of my
Wow,
only YouTube videos I've ever put out, but I have like a ton that I just need to like go back and upload some stuff from this
you
year,
do, you do.
But
You
but I had posted that one like years ago on one of my YouTube things that channels I never like really had, but I just put it out there so I would always have it. But it was like the whole encore overlooking like we're right there, Williams. I'm just looking down on the stage and like just a different standpoint. And it was just they accommodated even that place that they were accommodating. We had 3 single tickets,
Yeah.
and like maybe they'll be nice and put us all together in one
Oh,
section and
yeah.
like ADA. So and they did.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And the other thing I did before I go, you asked about ever seen them in Rhode Island because this was
That's
bugging me,
true. Yeah.
right? You'd
Yeah.
asked about that, and I never finished that question. Um, I I thought about it, and I was like, I've never, I've seen them in all these states. I've never seen them in Rhode Island. And then I look back, I'm like, oh, wait a second. Number one, there was like the time, so it was Dave and Friends, and they played
Uh-huh.
at the Dunkin', what's now called, what they call it, Amica Pavilion or something, but what we eventually called the Dunk because it was Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence,
Yeah.
and it used to be the Providence Civic Center back in the day. Then also they played there on my 21st birthday, and I
Dang.
lived about a mile and a half down the road,
Dang.
and I didn't go because I wasn't a fan yet. I wouldn't, I
Right.
was
Right.
in between the first and second concerts. I wouldn't say I was like not a fan, but I wasn't like a fan
Yeah.
that went.
Chasing. Yeah. Chasing them.
All those towns, all those venues, just seeing the different places like that. And I finally come to the realization I don't have to go just see Dave. That there are other bands I can go see in these venues, so I don't like miss out on Red Rocks. That's my plan to go see like Nathaniel Rateliff. If anybody knows him, he's
Oh,
awesome.
oh, yes,
Um,
absolutely. And the night
and
sweats.
yeah, so I'm trying to get out to them first before Dave. They're playing at Red Rocks like a few days before.
Wow. Oh, I
That's
hope you
my
get to
goal
do
with
that.
that. Then I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'll be leaving like next Tuesday from Rhode Island.
Dude.
Then hopefully somewhere along the way, I'm going to come back, hit all the way to Ocean's Calling, and then look that up because I know it's tough to get time off of work, but you'll be impressed
It
with it.
is.
I went last year, and it was the best like 2 days of music I had ever seen, my favorite bands were all on the day I missed. So
Wow. Of
think about that,
course.
right?
Of
And
course.
then I
Yeah.
always thought like, I'm like, the only thing that could make this better is if DMB's headlining it. And then and
Boom.
now they are. I'm like, it was
Awesome.
that good, that cool, but I like the beach, so that's that's
Well, of course. Who
um,
doesn't? I've never met
that's
anyone that didn't like it.
right. I know. Neither have I.
Not one
So, but
person.
that's
Not.
tough to see. Like some people like to go see them in the mountains, like you were
And
saying.
yeah, I mean, you can like it all. You can like it all. They're
I
all.
like it all.
That's the beautiful thing about our country. Again, we got it all. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Well, dude, I can't thank you enough, Michael Scott, for coming on this show. I just wanted to say it one time. Just for coming on the show, taking some time out
All the
on
way from
this.
from Pennsylvania. Just kidding.
Yeah. Just on a random weeknight, getting together, talking Dave with me. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do. So I appreciate you talking some Dave with me. And guys, again, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch this on the YouTube channel. That way, sometimes it's more fun. Sometimes people are very visual. They want to see as the story is being told. Some people just want to hear it. I mean, I don't know why in the world you would want to watch the YouTube channel. I'm like, why would you want to see this? But like, listening's good enough. Listening is great. But guys,
yeah, must see. I should have brought this guy.
oh man, see, this is one of the reasons why you should be watching the YouTube channel is because he has some fabulous. I mean, I think we have to do it. You got to show the camera at least like what we're doing.
Oh, should I just do? Yeah, I could do the camera trick one. See, this one I used to do when I first started doing like virtual teaching, right?
This is the benefit of the YouTube channel, guys. For those of you that are listening to the podcast right now, you're like, what the hell's happening? Did she go off track? Is the train still moving? Well, yes, but there's a surprise to come. He's changing outfits, which we've done a couple times on the show. But again, you would not know this unless you've watched the YouTube channel because just Christmas, we did like 3 different outfit changes. So here we go. Outfit change. Okay, explain to everyone what in the hell that is.
He's carrying me on his shoulders, and he's gonna bring me all the way to the gorge. I think. I hope, right?
So you're gonna wear it at the gorge?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I think you should now. I mean, I think now you have to because you've been on this podcast.
I'll be with me, of course. Yeah. This Carter B.
So, oh, Carter. Oh, what a perfect name. I can't imagine where you would have gotten that name from. Well, definitely look for Mikey. He'll be on the hill somewhere in some fancy wrestling pants. He's going to look like he's sitting on top of a wrestler. So if you see him, say hey, talk about the Space Between podcast. And oh man, those are great pants. Those are great pants. I love those so much.
That will never end.
No, it should never. It's fun to dress up. And hey, you know what? At the Gorge, it's the place to dress up because they have Freaks on Parade. It's a parade that you need to definitely go to wearing those pants because everyone dresses up in cool costumes and you just like walk around the campgrounds. And so those are very appropriate for that. So be sure to check out Freaks on Parade.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're going to love it. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of The Space Between. Again, if you are just listening to this on a podcast app, be sure to check out the YouTube channel, but do all the things that your 15, 16, 17-year-old tells you to do when you're on YouTube, which is simply give me a thumbs up on this episode and subscribe to the channel so that you know every time an episode comes out, because honestly, there is no rhyme or reason how I put out this podcast. I just do it as I do it. And so you never know what you're going to get when it comes to the Space Between podcast, but every week, you're going to hear a new fan's perspective of how the Dave Matthews Band has influenced their lives. So until the next time, guys, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. Thank you so much, Mikey.
Thank you.